More than 100,000 registered voters in North Carolina need to add information to their voter records or be required to use a provisional ballot in the next election. That can be risky. State election officials launched a new effort today, including a searchable database to try to reach those voters. WRAL's Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie explains what's at stake.
A regular ballot cast by a registered voter is almost certain to be counted, but it's up to local election boards to decide whether to count provisional ballots. And that's why some voting rights advocates and Democrats are concerned this could be an attempt to purge the voter rolls. But State Elections Director Sam Hayes says no, it's an attempt to resolve a federal lawsuit that was filed over missing information in the state's voter database. They're calling it the Registration Repair Project, aimed at more than 100,000 registered voters in North Carolina whose records are missing required ID information, either a driver's license number or the last 4 digits of a social security number. All of those voters are on this list with names, addresses, and voter registration numbers. You can type your name into the search box to see if yours is on it. They'll also send affected voters notices by mail. If the voters don't send in their information before the next election, State Elections Director Sam Hayes says they'll have to vote a provisional ballot and risk having their votes in state and local races not counted.
I would strongly urge everyone who receives a mailing to respond and supply that information to just ensure that their process at the polls is seamless as possible.
I asked Hayes why affected voters couldn't solve the problem by just showing their driver's license at the polls. As you noted, we now have photo voter ID. So when these voters come to vote, couldn't that information be entered in their record at that point?
Yes, that's what we're attempting to do.
Why make them then vote provisionally if you've already been able to verify and get the information when they check in to vote?
Well, it has to be verified.
State Elections Attorney Paul Cox says it's a matter of state and federal law.
Not only do we have to see that there's a driver's license, we have to actually run the license number through a validation check under the law. So that's why it can't be done immediately on the spot.
If you're wondering what prompted this, it came out of the lawsuit that Supreme Court candidate Jefferson Griffin filed after the last election. You might remember he wanted to throw out tens of thousands of votes because he said those voter records were missing information. Well, the courts didn't agree with Griffin, but the Trump administration filed a lawsuit to make the state fix the problem. Laura Leslie, WRAL News, Raleigh.